What's up, everyone? We've got something new for you today. Gonna be playing some Helldivers 2, the new co-op shooter game that's kind of taken the world by storm. And if you're not familiar with it, haven't seen anything about it yet, or if you didn't play the first game, which I did not, this is my introduction to the Helldivers series. It's basically Starship Troopers the game. And although I say that, I think there actually was a Starship Troopers game itself, but I never played that. And if you're not familiar with Starship Troopers, it's basically over-the-top, democratic, fascist, Earth battles bugs, which are presented as villains, but are probably not actually the bad guys. And it's kind of just goes with that at a surface level. You're not going to be, feeling bad about fighting bugs, even if it's maybe we're the bad guys. I don't know. It's very over the top, spreading democracy across the galaxy, I guess. But you don't only have to fight against bugs, even though that's kind of the real Starship Troopers comparison, and probably the main enemy that people are going to be starting off with. There is a second faction available this time, and I think there's hints that they're going to be adding a third, and who knows, maybe even more after that. But the other faction available right now is the automatons, the bots, and that's probably more similar to a Terminator type situation, or specifically post-apocalypse, post-Judgment Day Terminator, where you're fighting armies of robots like that. And it's actually pretty interesting. When I first went against the bots after fighting the bugs a lot, I wasn't liking it at first. It felt very different, but now that I've gotten more used to it, I actually like that it's different, because it gives you a chance to try out different weapons, different loadouts and stuff like that, because things that are good against the bugs might not be good against the bots, and vice versa. So that's kind of been my experience so far. But yeah, we are going to be going against just the bugs today in this mission. I think we're playing on either difficulty 5 or 6. I think there's 9 total difficulties, and the game is pretty good about easing you into those. It starts you off on the lowest, and then if you have success, it keeps going up. But if you're starting off solo, like I did, and I think you kind of had to start off solo if you didn't have friends to play with, because I think the random matchmaking was broken on day 1, which I think it's finished now, so if you're worried about that, you should be able to party up with random people if you want. But the difficulties, as far as I'm aware, do not scale at all based on the number of players. So if you're going in solo on higher difficulties, it's going to be pretty tough. You're going to have a bit of a different experience. You probably have to play more of a stealth kind of play style, where you're avoiding fights as much as possible, because you are going to be lacking in firepower a bit, especially when up against some of those tankier hordes. Because the regular bugs, I mean, there's a few different varieties to the smaller ones, but they go down to regular attack fire. But the bigger ones, I don't know if we may have seen one charger so far in this, but the charger is the big armored one, which has a weak spot in the back. That one's pretty hard to take out on your own, but there are a couple stratagems you can use, and I guess I should explain those a bit if people aren't aware. You have access to kind of orbital abilities. You can see one coming down here. You can equip up to 4 typically, and there's a variety of options. Some of them are like orbital strikes, so if you see right here, I think the cannons on our ship in orbit are firing an airburst explosion down on that, which is good for taking out kind of enemies in a wider area. You start off with a precision strike, which is a single heavy explosive round, which is very precise and is good at taking out more heavily armored stuff, but takes longer for it to call down. But there's other options, like you can call in airstrikes from like jets, which kind of have a different mechanic where they come in faster and have a lower cooldown, but after you call in a certain amount of them, the ship has to go back and refuel or reload or rearm or whatever you want to call it for that. But it seems like those are actually pretty good, because if you're using multiple at the same time of that same type of attack, it can rearm all of them in one go, so you actually don't have to use that longer cooldown to rearm as much as you want. Then there's more utility stuff. Most people are going to have at least one stratagem to call down a extra weapon, because you start off with your primary weapon and a secondary weapon, like some type of pistol, but then you can use a stratagem to call down, like for me, I've got a kind of a light machine gun, which is better against hordes of enemies. It also has some armor piercing to work against some of the heavier pierced guys. Not like the super heavily armored ones, like the Charger. I still have to hit him in the back, but there's other weapons you can call in a railgun. Auto cannon is one of the really good ones, because that one's kind of a fast-firing explosive one that's good at shredding armor. There's like an anti-material sniper rifle, which I personally like using against the bots. Not as effective against the bugs, but still pretty fun to bring that one. And then there's also other utility things, like you can call down turrets. I have a Gatling turret in this one. You can call down a supply pack you can carry on your back, and like a jump pack and stuff like that. So there's really a lot you can do, and the way you call them down is you input what I've been kind of calling a Dance Dance Revolution code there, or a Konami code, and you might be able to see, you can see there for the reinforce. So you hold down the button to call in your stratagem, and you put in the code to call it out, and you throw it out there, and it actually is a kind of a skill thing. You might not think, you're like, oh, I got all the time in the world to call that in, but you actually can't walk while calling the stratagem at the same time, since it does take your movement inputs to put in the code, so you have to stand still. So if you're really fast at inputting those codes, you can stand still for a second, get it prepped, and throw it out. But if it's a longer code you're not used to, then it could put you in a lot of trouble just standing there while you're trying to input it. So that is something you kind of have to practice and get better at. And I believe this game is actually from the same developers as Magicka, and that's another thing that reminded me of, other than DDR, is the codes you had to put in to cast spells in Magicka. So I can see the inspiration there for that. It's a pretty fun mechanic. Definitely takes a bit of getting used to. I know some things have a little bit easier codes. I've been using the orbital precision strike that I talked about before. I've been kind of sticking that in my loadout pretty much every mission, just because it's one of the easier ones to call down. I think it's 2 right, 1 down, and then you can call that one down. So even though it's not always the best, because it takes a while to come in, I've just kind of been keeping them in my loadout because it's something I can at least call in quick if I need it. But right here, I think we're trying to do one of the sub-objectives, or actually maybe we're just running into a bug breach at the moment. We had a little bit of friendly fire. I talked about a little bit before, calling in allies when they die. You do have a total amount of lives available. You can see at the top we have 18 lives, and that is shared between all of us. Every time someone dies, we can call in the reinforced stratagem to bring them back in another drop pod. And if multiple people are dead, a single reinforced stratagem call-in does call down all of them at once, but it will take a life off of the total for each person goes down. And if you run out of those lives, the mission is not over, actually. It will gradually refill a single life back in the counter every 2 minutes. So if the rest of your squad does manage to stay alive on the ground and you're dead, they can call you in, use up every 2 minutes and use that up. But if people keep dying, and the timer will keep coming back, and you'll have to work with less people potentially. But another big thing in this game is that there is a lot of friendly fire. Right there, there was a unexploded hell bomb on the ground, and one of our teammates shot it and blew up our ally. And we're gonna have to call him back for that. I think it was a mistake. I don't think he realized it was there. But there's a lot of different ways to kill your allies. It can be simple, just like shooting him in the back, like we're gonna see right here. And he's dead. That's from revenge for blowing him up before. Or it can be accidental, like calling in an airstrike, missing up where you call it down. Maybe it bounced off a wall, something like that, or you underestimated how big the explosion is. Or even your own stuff can take you out. You can call down turrets. The mortar turret especially is one of my favorite turrets to use because it's very effective at killing things, but it is perhaps a little too effective at killing things, because if bugs charge up on you, the mortar turret decides those bugs must die, and it doesn't care if you die along with them. So more than on a few occasions, I have taken myself out with my own turret, but that's why you've got those extra lives to kind of work with that. But when you're not immediately dying to the damage you take, either from your allies or your enemies or yourself even, you do have a health system that you have your health bar, but sometimes when you take damage, I don't know if it's actually based on just how heavy the hits are or where you get hit exactly, but your limbs and your chest, and I don't think your head can be hurt without dying at least, but that you can take damage in specific areas like that. So if your leg is hurt, you won't be able to sprint as effectively. If your arms are hurt, I think you'll have trouble aiming. You might not be able to reload. But while they do have this kind of advanced system for how injuries work, everything gets healed by a single stim heal, at least on the difficulties I've been playing on. Maybe it gets more extreme, maybe that's changed or something on the higher difficulties, but even if all parts of your body are injured, if you hit yourself with that healing stim, it will heal all of them and bring you back to full health after that. So pretty much any time that I get any sort of limb injured, I do pop that healing thing. But there have been times where I get hit by something explosive. I think you actually get an achievement for it if you're hurt in every single appendage and your chest at the same time and manage to live to tell the tale. There was one time where I got that happen to me, and I did manage to survive with it. But here we are doing one of the sub-objectives here. I'm going to activate the radar station, and I believe this one here gives you kind of a ping of the entire map, because usually when you start off on a mission, the map shows you, I think, one of the sub-objectives. And when I say sub-objectives, there's a lot of, like, random things you can find around the map. You might have seen popping up in the chat here, like, minor point of interest and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of things you can find, just little areas with like a little bit of you know, like cash or something. You can pick up that to use to buy stuff after the mission. Samples is another thing you use to get ship upgrades. But there's always, I think, 3 sub objectives, at least at the difficulties I've been playing out on the map. And usually it tells you where one of those is when you start the mission. But there's going to be like 2 others that you can also find on the map. So I don't remember if it told us at the start where the radar station was, or if that was one of the ones we found. But this one, if you do complete it, it gives you access to where all of the sub-objectives, all of the point of interest, all of the bug nests are on the map. So that one's pretty cool. So there I had to, I don't know if I had to put in a code, another one of those Konami codes to start up the raising the tower. Then I have to point the radar dish in the right direction. And then I think I just had to do a confirm here, and I think we're going to be done with that there. And there we go, radar station is available, and that's going to ping the map and show us where everything is. Now you see a lot more icons on the map, which is pretty nice. And I think some of the other common ones are, there's one that's which I actually think we also did in this mission, that may have been the one that was on our map at the start, was the artillery cannon. And that one, if you load the cannon and get it set up, you then get access to 5 everyone gets access to an extra kind of stratagem, which is calling in a shot from that cannon. You get 5 of them, and then it's all out. I think 5 shared between the whole team. So it's kind of cool how not only do you get bonus like XP and money or whatever for completing the subjects on a mission, also gives you a benefit in the mission itself, which kind of gives you more incentive to do those. Looks like we're running into another horde here on our way to our main objective. Got a few chargers. And chargers are, honestly, they're, for me at least, they are the most annoying enemy to fight so far. I've heard some people saying they think they should be toned down. And I don't know, part of me agrees, but the thing is you can cheese them pretty heavily, and we're going to see it right here. So I called in my turret, I believe, directly on top of that guy, and it fell down, and that will one-shot the charger. You see, he's dead now. Now my turret gets destroyed in the process, so it does cost me that, and I think the turret has probably 3 or 4 minute cooldown, so it's not exactly super fast. When you got multiple chargers, you can't do it, but there's other things you can call down, like a resupply. Right there, actually, though, I stepped on my teammate. He called down a minefield. You can see those little red dots. That's another stratagem that's infamous for taking out your allies, especially if they're not paying attention. Walked into a friendly mine there and died. But another thing you can call down to crush the chargers would be the resupply. That's a general stratagem that everyone has access to and has assured cooldown. We got more of the chargers coming in, a few different airstrikes. Red is always going to be either the eagle runs or the orbital strikes to come in. And this charger here, I'm going to see if I can do, I think, the strategy on him again. One of my teammates tried to call in something there. It looks like it missed. And there's, as you can see there, my left leg is injured. I took that dive and the charger hit me, so I am going to have to heal up. Not moving very fast. Use the stim, and then I can get away from him. So you can juke them, you know, like a charging bull pretty well, as annoying as they are. But they're very tanky, even when we're shooting in the weak spot. And I've seen some people talk about if you use some explosive weapons, you can take out the armor in the front, and if you shoot them on their front legs, they die pretty fast. But I've had trouble implementing that so far. I've tried it a little bit, but it might just take some more practice. You can see he's getting slammed in the back by explosives. A lot of people are shooting him, but he's still alive. I think he might be bleeding out. That's the other thing. Some of the bugs, even if their head is gone, or in the charger's case, if their butt is gone, I guess, you'd think they're dead, but they kind of keep moving, and I don't know if they kind of eventually die, or if you have to keep shooting them. But right here, this is another example. So this is actually a bug here. The charger got stuck, I guess, with the resupply coming down on him, and he's running in place, and he's dead. So that's what I'm talking about with cheesing them. Calling in strikes like that kind of one-shot them is kind of one of the best ways to deal with them right now, and it's kind of awkward, but it works. So we'll see if they change anything about that, or if they change any strengths about the chargers. But in small numbers, they're not too bad, even if you aren't using that strategy. But when you get like a horde of like 5 or 6 of them, which can happen sometimes, then they're really tough to deal with, especially if they're all on top of you, because they're never going to show their weak point to you. So you really got to rely on your allies dealing with that. So yeah, I'm honestly not even sure how you deal with them if you're playing single player. Maybe throw down a turret or something to draw their attention, but it seems like you probably have to break off some of the armor in the front, because they're almost never gonna show their weak spot to you if their focus is always on you. Right here, this is one of the other sub-objectives, the bug nest. I think we already cleared it out. There's usually gonna be, I think, well, it depends on the difficulty, but there's like small bug nests, medium bug nests, and large bug nests, and basically that's just defined on the number of bug holes that it has, which you have to use explosives to close those up. And you can use your grenades, but if you run out of grenades, if you have explosive weapons, like the auto cannon is one of the ones I've been talking about. That one is really good at closing those as well. So we did clear out that bug nest. We find a stray charge over here. Another one stuck. Usually I feel like they don't get this buggy, but we had a lot in this mission. So we're just throwing down the airstrike, calling in the machine gun on him, and we're taunting on him because he was not able to move at all. And then we're going to go ahead and move on. That's after we've been having so much success with calling down these airstrikes, we just kind of keep going for them, and there's another one. So sometimes it seems like it's the airstrike sticks to them like this, and even if it sticks to them, usually they can move, but yeah, sometimes it just bounces off, sometimes it sticks to them. There's probably a strategy to that that I haven't quite figured out, but in this mission particularly, even when it stuck to them, it kind of got stuck. But this here is our primary objective for this mission. We had to activate the power generator as a prior thing, and then we have to launch the ICBM, and once that goes off, the mission is complete, and now extraction is available. So we got 8 minutes left, which is a little low on time since standard missions have 40 minutes. We've used up a lot of time doing sub-objectives and stuff like that. If you just try and speedrun the main objectives, you're probably gonna have plenty of time, but if you want to get some of the other stuff done, depending how quickly you're able to move around the map and how many enemies are coming in and challenging you with that, you could end up using the full time. Now, mission is 40 minutes, but I think if you hit the end, they automatically call in the extraction ships, so that takes 2 minutes, I think, before it takes off. So it is more like 42 minutes in that regard. But once you hit 40 minutes, your ships in orbit, they abandon you, which is kind of funny because you still have a chance to extract, so I don't know where you're extracting to exactly. But the ships in orbit leave, which means you lose access to all of your stratagems. So if anyone dies, you can't call in reinforcements. They're dead for good. You can't call in any of your orbital strikes, can't call in more ammo, can't call in more weapons. You are on your own. So definitely, even though you still have a chance if you reach that 40 minutes to escape, it's definitely trying to encourage you to get out of there before that happens. And at this point, we are trying to make our way there. I think we've cleared all the sub-objectives we want to, and now we're just kind of on that final stretch as time is ticking down. We got to get to that extraction point to call in that ship before, hopefully, before our ships leave and we run out of our stratagems ability to use, because those definitely can be a tide turner, especially in bigger fights. Smaller fights, you don't need them as much, but and a lot of times I'm not using stratagems, but that's just because my teammates are throwing them out, and I don't really need to double up on the airstrikes. But when no one has them, especially the bigger, tougher enemies are going to be hard to deal with. We are trying to make our way over there still. So I think I kind of did this in one sequence here, our trip across the map. You can see the blue light there. That's the extraction point that we're making our way towards. And I think I'm fairly good on ammo still. I'm using the machine gun here. I really like the machine gun against the bugs. It can't deal with heavy armor on the charger, but lightly armored guys, like that guy just killed right there, it really just shreds them really quickly. And it's also fairly good against hordes. I haven't used the machine guns much against the bots because I feel like they're kind of more heavily armored in general, and I really need to run some kind of explosive thing. Or I've also used like the anti-material rifle, which I think has slight explosive properties. Because one interesting thing about the bots compared to the bugs is that the bugs, I mean, both of them have swarms of enemies. You're going to be fighting a lot of them, but with the bots, a lot of like the map itself is your enemy. Like a bug nest, you have the areas that just keep spawning bugs, and maybe some like explosive things on the ground that kind of disorient you and stuff like that, just like vegetation or whatever. But mostly it's just the bugs you're dealing with. But the bots, they have like buildings with cannons on them. They have turret emplacements, stuff like that. So I think having more explosive stuff, more ranged stuff, definitely helps out against them. So I'll have to showcase some of the bot gameplay at some point if people are interested in seeing that. But we are starting to reach a larger number of chargers here, and this is what I'm talking about. Thankfully, most of them have their focus drawn away from me. I think I got friendly fired a bit there. That's the other thing with like explosives, that if you don't direct hit something with armor, it can ricochet, kind of like World of Tanks style. So I think there my teammate fired the autocannon and it kind of ricocheted off the angled armor and hit a spot near me. But there's so many of them here. I'm trying to make my way away from them. I do have that jump pack. My teammate called in the extra one for me with his stratagem to get me out of there, but there's still two of them, three of them on me, I think, and there's even more on my other teammates. So while this is happening, our other two teammates did make it to the extraction point and started calling down the shuttle since we're on our way there. So hopefully we'll get there before it leaves, because I think actually after it lands, I think you only have 30 seconds or maybe even less to get out of there. So they're clearing that area. One of them goes down, possibly to their own airstrike. I'm trying to call them in the reinforce, but I think I was a bit slow. So if multiple people try and do the same stratagem at the same time, like a reinforce or a resupply, it'll just go off of whoever throws it first. So it's no big deal. If it won't waste any of the resources if you do like that. So there's never really any downside. As long as you're safe to call in the stratagem, there's no downside of multiple people trying to do it at the same time. But if you're all on the call, you can coordinate and just have one person do it. Just kind of a smaller horde here. I think most of the chargers actually got pulled off of me and went after my other teammate there. You can see R3. He's kind of far away because I think he's dealing with a horde of probably 5 chargers or more, maybe. But it looks like he's finally making it over here. Trying to deal with this guy here. He's got kind of lighter armor, so I might want to use my machine gun against him. But ship is coming in. We got a minute left. This extraction point is kind of a bit of an open one. A lot of them kind of are actually like little base areas with some walls and a bit more defensive stuff, but this one's kind of just wide out in the open. Or that, if it was, maybe it wasn't wide out in the open and we called in some airstrikes and blew everything up. But right now it's pretty barren. But kind of just dealing with the last group here. Gonna call in one of my airstrikes. I'm not sure if the chargers got lost or if they all died, but none of them are here right now. It's just a lot of these smaller guys, which can still be a problem. They all get on top of us. The bugs do, even the smaller bugs can kill you pretty quick if they get on top of you like that. And I am running a medium armor, which is kind of, has a passive bonus where it's kind of in between the medium and heavy armor. So I'm a little bit more tough than I would be with normal medium armor. But I just picked it because I like the blue color. I wasn't really thinking about that. But there are passives for all of the armor like that that can help you make a decision aside from just wanting to look good. The ship is starting to come in now, I believe. Throwing a couple last airstrikes just to give us some space. Those beginning to land. I'm running low on ammo. I'm actually down to the last little bit on my machine gun. Nothing left to reload. Only 2 mags left on my main gun. Yeah, we're really getting low here. I wonder if maybe we called another resupply, or maybe we just forgot to. But the ship is opening up. A charger to the last second. Give him a fist bump before we leave. Calling an airstrike on our own ship, and we're gonna get out of there. Airburst coming in right at the end. Thankfully, our shuttle appears to be invincible, so we are able to extract even with hell itself coming down on us. But there is Helldivers 2, a game that I've just been having a lot of fun with. I'll continue to have fun with. I know there's been some bugs with the game. I've had a couple crashes myself, but for the most part, it runs pretty smooth. So hopefully, if they fix those bugs, no pun intended, then hopefully it'll be a pretty solid experience all around. So yeah, hopefully you guys all enjoyed watching this gameplay video. If you want to see more Helldivers 2, do let me know, because I know I'll be playing more of it. And I'll be happy to show you guys some more if you're interested. That is going to be it for this time, guys. As always, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.